Well, the Edmonton Oilers are going into the playoffs, and before the season started, I said the Oilers would get about 82 points, and that was not going to make the playoffs. So I look stupid. I don't have to eat any columns or anything like that, mash them up in some cereal or anything like that. So didn't make that bet with anybody. But I thought they'd be a point a game team, and instead they're going to get about 100 points. So way better than I thought, and it goes back to the first month of the season, when they started 7-1, and at that point we were all waiting for the bottom to fall out, and they did have a November that wasn't as good, predictably, but they managed throughout the season to not get into any really long losing streaks, say of 10 games or something where they couldn't win a game, and the losing streaks which we've seen so often from 2010 or so until 2016, where the Oilers were just spiraling out of control, and we're nowhere near making the playoffs, and often out of the playoffs in November. And they just kept it going. They're better this year than they were last year and the year before and the year before, because they have one of the top 10 goaltenders in Cam Talbot. He's played the most games in the NHL. He's won the most games in a regular season by any goalie, surpassing Grant Fuhr in 87-88. They have Connor McDavid, who I think should win the Hart Trophy as the MVP, is going to win the scoring title, might win the Lady Byng as well as the most gentlemanly player. They have Leon Draisaitl, who's in the top 10 in scoring, the only team in the league with 2 players in the top 10 in scoring. And they have a defense that's 4 deep, and the puck doesn't spend as much time in there under the ice. And that's been a fire drill there for some time, where you could almost tell when the Oilers were going to get scored on, because the puck was in their end for 30 seconds and you were already starting to write down who was going to score the goal. You just couldn't get the puck out of their end. They have 2 top pairings, I think. They have Adam Larsson, who came to the Oilers for Taylor Hall and Oscar Klefbom, and then they have Andrei Sekera and Chris Russell in a second pairing, and they seem to flip-flop them. They don't always play one pairing against the other team's best players. Normally Klefbom and Larsson, but not always. So their top 4 is, while it's not all world, and there's none of those players are going to be winning any Norris trophies, it's a very capable NHL defense. And if you talk to pro scouts over the years, that has been the problem with the Oilers. They dressed players who played in the NHL, but if you talk to pro scouts, they weren't NHL caliber defensemen defensively. And the puck doesn't spend as much time in their end. The puck's up ice, and when it's in the hands of McDavid or Draisaitl or Patrick Maroon, good things are going to happen. So they've pretty much got the bases covered. Good goaltender, good defense, and a #1 center, and that's how you build championships teams from goal on out. And how far they go in the playoffs is anybody's guess, but the Pacific Division is pretty wide open. There's not one team in it that's got 110, 120 points, and you could legitimately say they're a Stanley Cup threat to win. Anaheim's good, not great. San Jose's good. They made the finals last year, but they're not great. They're older teams, Anaheim and San Jose. The Oilers are young. They have nothing to lose, and I think every team that's going to be playing in the Stanley Cup playoffs has noticed that the Oilers suddenly have around 100 points. They had 70 last year, so something must be going right, and most teams would not want to play a team with nothing to lose, and I don't think the Oilers have very much to lose.